Welcome to another video. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day today. Today we didn't take any trades. We did have a setup, but that setup, we did have a shorting opportunity here. What if I took in that? Let's talk about it. I did have another setup. What if I took in that? Let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, beautiful day. It just hit a drawn liquidity. You know what I'm saying? We didn't take any trades because it hit a drawn liquidity. We didn't have an entering opportunity beforehand, but that entry broke our rules, so we did not take it. We're gonna be talking about it all, right? Let's get straight into it. Today was a interesting day. You know what I'm saying? If he talks to me like that, you know what I'm saying? I got the glasses on. You know what I'm saying? That nerdy glasses. So we're gonna be yapping a lot, but educational yapping that can actually help you, right? So on the weekly time frame, our weekly time frame was ERL to IRL, weekly CRT to the downside. We had a weekly SMT with the weekly CRT high, so we had a SMT CRT to the downside, right? So on a daily time frame, we had a daily ERL to IRL, daily SMT CRT to the downside as well. So John Lucas rather on here as well. We had a daily. That's it. All I can say. Probably gonna have a daily classic expansion profile too. If this SMT calls, if this SMT divergence holds, we're highly to have a classic expansion profile too to the downside because SMT, right? So probably gonna have that if it holds. If it does not hold, probably gonna be something else. But as of right now, this SMT is holding, so we're probably gonna have a classic expansion profile too. But you never know. I think anything, nothing is possible in trading, right? Anything is anything could happen. All we know, we gotta adapt and react, right? So as of right now, on the 4-hour time frame, we had a daily range, right? So even some people went longs today. Even if I were to go longs, I would have not taken any long entry. As you guys know, we do not buy in premium, we do not sell in discount. We do not want to buy in a premium, and we do not want to sell in a discount, right? So we had a daily range on a lower time frame, super low, super high, stable low, stable high, premium discount. And people in discount want to buy, and people want to sell. So even if we're looking for a long here, let's just say I had an niche to the upside, I would have not taken it because of the daily range. As you guys know, daily range matters in both markets, in the in the trending market and the ranging market. Right, the market is currently trending. It matters in this trading market as well because daily ranges are important, right? You don't want to buy premium. You don't want to sell cheap. You want to buy cheap, sell high, right? So we had that as one of our narrative. We had a bullish auto flow, but it doesn't really matter. We had a 406 to the downside. We are looking for a New York reversal profile when you mentioned 5 impulsion 9 expansion. You can see 9 did expand to the downside as well. We had a SMT, as you can see, your SMT with the 5 a.m. and 1 a.m. high, as well we had SMT with these highs as well, right? I was going to the downside. That was enough for us to take the trade. Now let's go to a lower time for to take the trade right over here. And in the 15-minute time frame, as you guys know, if we're having a 4-hour CRT, we're gonna scale down to the 15-minute to execute the CRT here, right? In the 15-minute time frame, we had S&P divergence, right? Probably wondering, well, how do you not execute it straight to the downside? Were we second guessing yourself? No. Why? Because as you guys know, S&P divergence must happen between 6 a.m. right to 10:30, right? So if it happens any time outside the time window, is considered to be a low probability and is considered to not take it because my rule says I cannot take any trades outside that time window of the S&P divergence. Because what is the S&P divergence? S&P divergence is basically a soup. So market is stooping this high, but it had an SMT, so it prevent that soup from happening. But it souped it in another pair with a correlated pair, right? With the negative correlation, positive correlation. You see how GU pushed out the highs, right? And EU did not. So that is our context here, right? So, and you can see 6 a.m. right over here and the 10:30 a.m. So at 6 a.m., we did not have our SMT. Our SMT happened at 5:15 a.m. Right? You can see SMT got confirmed around 5:45 a.m. But I did not take it because the SMT versus happened before it. And other thing is, somebody told me, the CRT circle trader, why did you not take this short right over here? Because see this line that I have right over here. There's a model one for this CRT here. But a lot of you guys wondering, well, why didn't I take this short from here to the downside? Market retraced to it in around 6 to 7 a.m. Why did I take this short? There's two reasons, right? I mean, there's a reason to it. Why did I take this short? Is first of all, I do not trade London session, so I'm trying to catch the New York move, not the London session move, right? So I'm trying to catch the New York. So if I were to, let's just say, Enter the short right over here. Let's just say I enter a short right over here. I take a short entry there, stop loss here, right? But I do not have, since I don't have any New York context here, I'll take a short here, right? Because this entry happened at what time? This entry happened at London session 3:13 a.m., right? So if I'm entering a New York session trade, although okay, it's valid, right? Although I'm entering New York session trade, I mean a London session trade, which I don't even trade London session. Let's just say there was no SMT, so let's just say enter short here, stop loss here, just because London session trade, but I trade New York, I don't trade London session, so I need to have a London context. I take a short, market just rips up and stop me out, right? In this case, it didn't stop me out, but guess what? Over the long term, it will, right? We need to have that New York context, so that's why we had SMT. So the reason this high didn't get purged is because of the SMT divergence, right? Otherwise, we would have gotten purged, right? So we cannot enter a trade blindly, right? Since I do not trade London session, I will not take a short unless I have a near context, right? Near context, right? And in this case, we did have a near context, but the near context was not the right context that I was looking for. I did not have the right time. The SMT, I did not have the right timing of the SMT divergence, right? So if this goes back up higher and valid this SMT, we're sidelines. Why? Because I personally only trade New York, right? I don't trade London session, right? So I'm looking for the New York move, not for the London session move, right? So if I were to enter this trade blindly here and here, even though I trade New York session, right? I enter the trade right over here, right when he's around 6 a.m. I enter the trade stop off here, and there's sometimes let's say there's no SMT, goes up, stops me out, right? And goes back lower, right? So in this case right over here is the New York. You know what I'm saying? This is the New York context, right? New York pushed out the high. So there was SMT, right? But you guys trying to see what I'm trying to say here, right? All I'm trying to say is I must have a New York context, not a London session context. It says this setup happened in London session, right? So I'm looking for a New York context. So for New York context, either looking for SMT with this high, or I'm looking for a purge of this high, right? So if I'm looking for a purge of this high and I enter a trade here, I get stop loss and market actually offers me a New York session trade to the downside. Then eventually I'm just taking a random loss trade, right? But if I'm just trading, New York with a New York context here, and saying since I'm trading New York context, I'm looking for SMT or a purge. Since we have SMT, but SMT happened at the wrong time, so we're not gonna enter the trade. Market did go lower, but you can see it's showing a strong signs of upside, right? So now if this goes up here higher, will that affect us? No. Why? Because what I'm saying, we did not have any New York context. The New York context was low probability. This setup right here that happened, I cannot take it. Why? Because that SMT divergence happened outside the time window, right? The time window was between 6 a.m. to 30 a.m. But you're wondering, well, that's a purge timing. That's looking for a purge. What is the SMT divergence? SMT divergence is a purge, right? So that's why I didn't take this trade. This year I did not take it because I'm trading New York session. I don't need to go take a lot of sessions context here, right? So keep that in mind right here as well. And eventually our drone got met. I was like, okay, I'm done for the day because our drone looking got met, which is we had SMT with the 1 a.m. high and the 1 a.m. lows are drone liquidity. But if I was to enter the trade to the downside, this would have not been my take profit. My take profit would have been this low because we're in the bigger CRT. So this would have been my initial goal. But yeah, that's literally why the reason we didn't take any trade here. You see market is coming back up. This could potentially be a OTE. I don't care what it is, right? All I know that, what I'm saying, we didn't break any rule. So we built good habits today. I'm satisfied because I built good habits. Otherwise, yeah, everything is fine here. Other than anything else, everything else is fine here, right? But yeah, that is the the market recap. The lesson is, don't force trades, right? We cannot force a trade, right? We can't be like, okay, this is a London session trade, I'm gonna take it. I don't trade London session, right? I trade New York session. So if I'm trading New York session, I need New York context, right? I don't need a London session. London session is already gone, right? Yes, we're still trading the London session context, but we need a New York context. We need a New York context supporting the London session, right? Because if you guys know what I'm trying to say here, right? So yeah, this is a market recap. It's Monday. Don't force trades, right? Monday usually are always a hit or miss, right? Mondays are going to be a hit or miss, but the hits are always going to be outweigh the miss, right? But you also do not want to, just when the day starts, you don't want to get in a trade. You want to have that good context here. The context was there It's just that entry was not there, right? But as you guys know, if he breaks that rule, we're not gonna enter the trade, right? So this is my market recap. Thank you for watching. See you guys later. Don't just go listen down below. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share, and see you guys later. Peace out.